Hello, I'm Rose Roscoe, and I'm here today to give you a recap of our book study, Inclusion in Action, for our final session 4. So what we focused on for session 4, as you see here in the notes, is strategies for comprehension, analysis, and knowledge utilization. And what we did is we focused on our share out strategy slides. So I'm just going to pull those over so you can be reminded. There's a link in our notes here, but we went through these strategies, and I think we left off right here, strategies for comprehension. So we were focusing on these slides and we reviewed everything. If you want to go back and look at these slides, our notes and what we talked about is mostly here. But what I did do is I recorded the additional things that we talked about that were more of our conversation. So like here, we kicked off with the question, what is one takeaway you're excited to implement from this book study? So I gave several quotes here, but I thought it was really neat that one person was really struck by one of the strategies, which was giving kids the opportunity to answer yes and no questions, which seems obvious, but for her, that was an aha moment with her kids that she's working with. And again, that we're realizing that many of these strategies that we use with students are also really helpful when we do professional development for adults. So then what I've done in this next section is under each of those four, the areas that we're talking about in session 4, strategies for comprehension, I've given you the name of the strategy, and there is a slide that has ideas about that you can go back and refer to. But now I've given you some of the quotes and the resources we talked about. So here, like for example, we talked about using for reading, Common Lit, Readtopia, and Bookshare. And I've also hyperlinked those so that you can go back and look at those tools further if you're not familiar with them already. And some of these strategies, even though we talked about the slide, there wasn't a lot of conversation or chat notes around it. So I just said, see share out example here for those. We had quite a bit of conversation about strategy 27, tell me a story about it. In the simplest form, people are like, hey, well, just use Google Slides or PowerPoint. You can use those for storytelling and they work great. So using what you have is always good to start with. Someone there really enjoyed using the resource called Canva, and we have the site there linked for you. She said it took a little time to get to know, but it's so versatile. She really enjoyed it. We talked a lot about Webbit strategies, Venn diagrams. There's one here at this class tools you can check out, Jamboard, but since that's going away, we talked about some other things similar to Jamboard called FigJam, Lucid Sparks, and Miro, which you can look up more information about. So what are ways that you can brainstorm? These are digital whiteboards. There's also, like I said, digital graphic organizers, and those are all kind of fun to mix it up and show students. When we got to strategy 37 on Edit It, we had quite a lengthy conversation about Chat GPT. And one person, actually a couple of people were talking about how when they taught their students to use that to help brainstorm and get their ideas out, they became better writers. They did have to, make sure they cited that they used Chat PT, and they had to learn how to take some of the facts, and teachers were able to level it to that student's reading level. And then do some editing around that. So it's a really good editing tool and a way to help get students writing more. And then we talked a little bit about read and write from text help, and then more graphic organizers for compare and contrast it. Inspiration, for instance, was talked about, and then diagrams again. But one teacher kind of shared a story about how she used Skittles and M&Ms in a Venn diagram for a kind of a hands-on. All right, so those were the main things we talked about for resources. And then you can go back to the share out slides to look at these other strategies, 38, 39, 40. And then I just wanted to kind of put all the resources together in a way. So here's my little graphic organizer for assistive technology. And interestingly, many of these tools down here are graphic organizer tools. So these are just linked for you to just go back and explore all in one place to go back to the resources. And then we just wanted to remind you that SETC is sponsoring a book study in February through April of 2024 called Design and Deliver by Louis Lord Nelson. And it's going to be a great book study meeting about every other week. And there's a link there if you want to register for that. And should be another great experience. And finally, we just wanted to say happy holidays and thank you again for joining us for this book study. And feel free to contact Linda or I if you have any more questions. And we hope you have a wonderful winter break. Thank you.